heavy hitters in that movie.
Yeah, big time.
So they're gonna offer him $1 million, and that's it.
All right.
No royalties.
We record.
Just write your check up front.
Let's go.
$1 million. So $1 million.
I mean, it'd be hard to turn down $1 million.
Especially when you broke as fuck.
Yeah, especially when you're 13.
Like mom said,
Hey, you broke as fuck.
if they willing, she said, think about it. She must not have been too. She's really smart. She said, if they're willing to offer you $1 million, how much is it really worth?
Thank God for mamas.
You're 13 years old. They're offering you $1 million, and you haven't done any major work. You're not famous. How much is this really worth?
I have no sound.
And then think about why in terms and think about the people that are part of it. Elton John, everything. He's like, so what do you want me to do? $10 million? He said, no, let's negotiate like 10% of that and then royalties for life.
Someone called for us $1 million. I'm selling Vinny Crump.
And that dude never has to do anything again. You just
I'm making an executive decision.
But up to this day, let's just say I made well over.
What you think, Shane?
$1 million.
Oh shit! I don't even got no. Hey, boss man, I only got a cord in my damn mic.
So it wasn't like he didn't get anything.
I forgot to get out.
Shit.
It wasn't like he didn't get anything up front. He still got $100 grand.
You
know,
that's life changing this stuff.
So, yeah.
Especially when Lion King came out.
If you're 13 and you put $100 grand in the bank,
mic'd up, baby.
say you put half of it. If you're 13 and you blow $50,000 and you put $50,000 in the bank, by the time you're our age, you're a multi-millionaire.
Now, knowing what I know now, I want 100,000 or $1 million after taxes.
All part of negotiating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to negotiate in how much the taxes are going to be and say you want that much. Okay, if you want $100 grand, then the fee that you charge them is one thing. Because they can't get you out of taxes.
150 something.
All they can do is pay the amount of the taxes. And then you got to pay taxes on that amount. So
no, I don't think it worked that way. I think they could pay the taxes for you. They could pay you after tax fees. They can go on and cover the taxes on whatever.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
But I mean, like when you get a paycheck, you get a gross amount. Taxes are coming out of that amount.
And they already covering those taxes for me.
That's not how. No, that's not how it works. They're just making the arrangements.
Yes, I'm telling you, Shane, you can do it.
I'm not saying you can't do it.
They're gonna cut me a check for 180,000 or whatever. After taxes, that check is gonna be worth 100,000. They cut me the check for 180. After the taxes come out, or say even if I have to pay the taxes.
Yeah, you just want them to withhold the amount of taxes or whatever it is. Yeah,
my tax is gonna be
30,000. So you got to pay me 130,000 or whatever it is. Yeah.
Pay me 130,000.
Matter of fact, just make it even 150.
Why not?
Because I got to pay an accountant to file them taxes for me. So
I want my money after taxes. Fuck it, give me my money after taxes.
But I want the 150, and then like you said, residuals. That's
so then
forever. Like, I mean, people still watching The Lion King. It's still selling.
It's still a good ass movie.
Generation over, your royalties just happen again. So when they make the new Lion King, they're feeding off of the old stuff. So they automatically get
even if you're not in it.
Yep.
Wow.
If you,
I didn't know it worked that way.
And say we, you, and Q cover the AC/DC song.
Okay.
They automatically get 50%.
Right.
Of all the royalties.
That's crazy.
Endless. Their grandkids have, unless they sell their estate to
50%. I mean, they did make the music, but still, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
You know who Oliver Anthony is?
Yeah.
That sounds familiar too.
He was on Rogan again. He wrote that song called "Rich Men from Richmond"
he just did something on Rogan. He just did it.
He just was. I listened to the episode when I was going to Pulaski.
Was he good?
It was the first time I listened to him. I was like, I don't really like this guy because I didn't like that song "Rich Men from Richmond."
Okay,
I didn't care for it. Now he's got his new song is called "Scornful Woman," and it's about his wife who.
I thought he was a single guy. I thought he just had a dog and a guitar.
No, he is now. He was married. Been married for a minute, I guess. But when he started,
got a little fame and wealth.
When he got some money coming in from Rich Men from Richmond,
old lady packed up and
she packed up and took him to court, and she wanted half of everything he had.
Goddamn right.
In perpetuity.
I bet she got half of it too.
I think she did. Yeah, I think she got more than half. Actually,
that's a fucked up system.
Man. It is a fucked up system.
God.
But he talked about that some on Rogan.
See, you was with me when I was broke down, struggling. Now we finally got a little money, and you see that you got a way out. You can take this money and live a good life.
I mean, when you leave is when you know, like there's something to that. Okay, you were together and maybe she supported, maybe she worked at the Dollar General while you pursued your music career or whatever it is. Like, okay, you know, you need to do right by her too. This was an investment on both y'all.
I'm not saying don't, but why is she leaving him though?
Why is she leaving him, number one? And number two, why do you deserve 50% of everything I ever get from now on? At this time. You know, no, you get, look, he said he got $800,000 for rich men from Richmond. Yeah. So, all right, here's $400,000. Be gone, bitch. Be gone. It's worth $400,000 to get rid of her. Be gone. Roll Tide, bitch. Roll Tide. But it's worth $400,000 to be done with her, you know? Yeah. But why are you going to get everything I made from here on out? You never wrote a single song. She wanted in perpetuity? Perpetuity? What was that? Perpetuity. Perpetuity. These damn P words. In perpetuity, I know they pop in the microphone. This was pretty good. I like them P words, I guess. P words, man. Perpetuity. Perpetuity, yeah. I don't know, man. That's just it's bad enough she gets half of everything. Say we blow up. You think our wives will leave us? Wives ready to leave. She like, fuck it. I can get a cool $1 million if I just sue him now. You can live a good life. And but in perpetuity, I'd be like, hell no. Perpetuity is a different situation. That's a whole different. A whole different situation. The piece is probably worth $1 million. By the time it gets to the point where it's time to separate or to divorce, you know, okay, it is what it is. But forever. What if that's any new thing I'm doing, or just on where he's currently at? Just on like rich man over. Good question. Rich man from Richmond or whatever. You getting money off of that, or even the new songs that I'm coming out with? Good question. Way I understood it was she wanted money off of the new stuff. You should have stuck around if you want money off the new stuff. Which, if that's the case, then he wrote a song called "Scornful Woman" about her being a bitch, and she's going to get half of the money of that. That would be some tough stuff to take, wouldn't it? You wrote a revenge song, and you got to pay her for it. They say it's a cold world. It's a cold world. It's a cold, cold world. And the courts ain't set up for men to win. No, sir. Look, family court. I'm talking family court. No, family court is never set up. I hear it's better now, but apparently not. I know you done been through that damn that ringer. So you can speak to it better than I can, but I done heard horror stories. I can tell you that I had several lawyers, 2 lawyers specifically, who said, you know, Shane, listen, I can take your case and take a bunch of money if I really, but I wouldn't feel right about doing it. You're going to lose. You're going to lose. You're going to lose. You probably just need to, you know, I'll be happy to offer you advice, you know, cost you a few $100 or whatever. But, you know, for me to take this case and fight for custody with you is a losing battle, and I wouldn't feel right taking your money. Yeah, I had 2 different lawyers tell me that. Damn. Yep. But you still take the fight? Did you take the fight? No. Or you just paid the child support? Well, I mean, I made sure I had a lawyer to keep my best interests at heart. You know, there's certain things that you do, you know, they're going to know the protocol and what have you, and then they can file you know, it still cost me a bunch of money. Not as much as it cost her, though. Really? But she had her mommy and daddy paying. Oh. Yeah. I let her take the initiative. It don't matter what it costs if someone else putting the bill for it. Yeah, her mommy and daddy were willing to spend, you know, whatever it took. And I didn't have that kind of money. You know, not then. I didn't have the money to really mount a proper defense, but it wouldn't have made any difference. Do you think parents should get involved in stuff like that? Was their parents right or wrong for, in your opinion, for getting involved with it, with the whole situation? So barring she's not coming from like a domestic situation or correct. There was, you know, you ain't whooping her ass. No, cheating on her. None of that. None of these things. She was one cheating on me. You ain't cussing her out. Yeah. You know, granted, not coming from a situation like that. Now, my daughter called me and said, "Yeah, I wasn't going upside my head or whatever." Yeah, right? It'd be a whole different thing. But if you just want to leave because you're ready to leave, right. I'm like, fuck you. You better work it out. Yeah, you know, I mean, as a parent, I'm talking from a parent's point of view. That's hard to make a decision for somebody else. You know, and I think that's probably a case by case. In general, what would you do? I think I'd support my daughter with whatever she needed. Even if she's in the not I don't want to say right or wrong, but even if she's trying to leave him for, I'm still gonna stand behind my daughter. Now, am I gonna be vindictive for nothing? Like, what are you leaving me? What are you leaving him for, babe? Like, what did he do? You know, I mean, shit. Well, now let's don't act like I was. You finna break up his home? I wasn't exactly a saint. When I say exactly a saint, like I wasn't cheating or whooping on her, or, you know, it wasn't a violent home or whatever. But you know, I'm a whole lot better dude now than I was then. You know, but she wasn't exactly a princess either. Correct. You know, but still,
I don't want my kids running to me for every little thing.
I don't want my kids running to me for every little thing too, but it's, you know,
because of life, you know, you got to figure that shit out.
You do have to figure it out.
You got to figure that shit out.
Yeah, you do have to figure it out.
I'm not getting involved.
And they were particularly, they were more vindictive than they had to be. You know, I mean, like I wouldn't ask for her parents to be on my side. I want to be careful because I'm not talking shit, you know, whatever it is.
Right.
You know, this is a long time afterwards and looking back in hindsight. I'm not exactly easy to get along with anyways. You know, I didn't necessarily get along with her parents, and I'm not the easiest person in the world to get along with. And so let's say I don't hold any animosity.
Okay.
Put it that way. There are a couple of things I do, but not as far as the divorce is concerned. One way or another, I found a lot of peace when she was gone.
It's hard to put a value on your peace, Jay.
Listen, we got married because she was pregnant.
It's hard to put.
We were young, and you know, I came from the religious background that you know I came from, and so you know, my head was all screwed up.
You had to do the right thing.
What you know, her father wanted us to abort the baby.
Oh,
Daniel, you've met him. Yeah. Her father wanted us to abort him.
That's crazy.
Offered the money. I'll pay for it. No problem. Pretty sure back then you would have had to go across state lines too. Nah, maybe not. I'm not. No, that was
because he had other plans for her.
For sure, yeah.
Not
she was going to Jacksonville State University. Had a
getting pregnant and being Susie Homemaker. You know, I had other
6 months after she graduated high school.
Yeah,
for
bigger
sure.
plans for my daughter. Not that she getting.
And so when you look at it from his perspective, you know,
he took his little girl away.
For sure. So you know, it's hard to.
You motherfucker.
Not at the time, but quickly I became one.
That's what. Oh man, I had a similar situation like that with Cynthia. You know, when she got pregnant and stuff, because her father is a preacher.
Okay.
So Cynthia grew up a preacher's kid.
What flavor?
Christianity.
Just general.
He preaching
non-denominational.
Jesus. Yeah, he preaching Jesus. I think he is a more non-denominational. He wasn't no primitive Baptist or
I got you. Yeah.
You know, Southern Baptist or whatever sect of
cult of Christ. I mean, Church of Christ.
Yeah, Church of Christ. You may
whatever,
be in, but he wanted to meet me after she got pregnant and told him about me. And I mean, you get to the point to where you got to tell your parents, you know, I'm pregnant.
Yep.
You know. Yep. So I went to meet him.
How old were you?
Their church. I was 21.
You went to their church
21, to meet him? Somewhere in there. Yeah, that's where he was at. Yeah, I went to meet both her parents at the church, and
she was already knocked up.
And she was already knocked up, and you know, so I think I got drunk or high before I went to meet him.
Something.
Yeah, I got something, but I liked her enough to even go through that. You know what I'm saying? So
obviously, I went
and met him, and
it's been a long time.
It was awkward, you know, meeting her parents for the first time and having explained to them, "Hey, I got your daughter pregnant." But,
right.
And me knowing what I know now,
bad.
It takes two to tango. You know,
for sure.
It's not that I got her pregnant.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She got herself in this situation just as much as I got her in this situation. You know,
but you guys
looking at me as the bad guy.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
You know, so. It is what it is. It's 18 years later. We just celebrate our 18-year anniversary.
There you go. Congratulations.
Went out to dinner. Yep. We went to this new spot around the corner called 111 or 11-1 or some shit.
What's it called, Kevin? You know?
It's right around the corner.
I think it's called 111.
111.
Shout out 111.
Yeah, I think it's called 111.
How was the meal?
The meal was good.
Okay.
The meal was good. We paid. I mean, it's a little pricey, but I was willing to pay that on the anniversary.
It's your anniversary.
I was willing to pay that. So if we go back, it would have to be a special occasion or some type of like double date night. You know, we want to dress up or get fancy or something. So, but we talked, and we kind of took a trip down memory lane. Not so much. We more talked about, like, I asked her the question, like, do you like me more at 40 or 25? Which version of me do you like? Because I'm constantly changing. I'm constantly evolving.
Sure.
At my core, I think I'm still the same person. I still got the same principles and morals, but overall, I'm really a different person. And she said she preferred my 25-year-old self.
Really?
Over me now. Over my my 40-year-old self. So then she asked me the same question: do I like her more now? Do I like her at 25? And I said, I like you more now. I think we have more fun now with one another when we're together. I think we laugh more. I think we have more joy. I think her skin's a lot tougher too now. So where she can take a joke, she can take me picking on her now a lot better than when she was younger.
So go back to the first part though, because you skimmed over that. Did she give you a reason why she liked the 25-year-old better?
She gave me a reason why.
Is it safe for general consumption? Do we didn't know about this?
Yeah. I mean, So basically, it comes down to she said, because like I kind of touched on, she grew up a preacher's kid. Right. She said my 25-year-old self was more willing to pray with her, go to church with her. If she felt sick, she can call on me to pray with, stuff from a spirituality point of view.
Oh, so she wishes you were more spiritual.
And then she put God into the mix. Like, okay, I think the only reason we lasted this long is because of God. And that's why I said time out. I said the only reason God don't got nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
You can say God is the reason we're here together. And tomorrow I can say I'm ready to divorce you, or vice versa. It's not because of God, it's because of us.
Right.
It's because of me that I wanted to last this long, and I wanted to make it. God don't have nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it.
Nothing whatsoever. But she gives God the credit, which shout out to you. I
mean, if that's what keeps things level for a person, then I say that's, okay, great. If that's,
in my opinion, it don't have nothing to do with God.
In the end, how you become a good person has nothing. I don't care as long as you become one.
As long as you become a good person.
And if your faith makes you feel like a better person and act like a better person,
it is what it is.
But don't discount my hard work and say, "Well, it's all on God."
No, motherfucker, I'm not giving God the credit for our podcast blow up. It don't got nothing to do with God. It got something to do with me and Shane and Kevin bringing our ass down here every Monday.
Yep.
And sending our ass in this seat.
Yep. Coming up with something new.
God don't got nothing to do with it. So God gave you everything you need. If you want to give God the credit, He gave you everything you need to be successful or unsuccessful.
And you either did or did not do something with it. The power is in
your hands, yes. Nothing to do with God. So, and then I made the example,
hopefully
how many people you think got married because God told them that you're going to be my wife, and then they're divorced a year later or 2 years later. You know what I'm saying? So was it God?
Well, listen,
God told me you were supposed to be my wife.
God was the reason I married my first wife in the first place.
And look what happened.
She was pregnant and out.
So was it really God? Did God really set you up for failure? If it was God, fucked you.
Yeah.
Well, you got 2 beautiful kids out of it. Whatever. True. But you can look, you can look at some of the positives. But really, why you couldn't just gave me Jessica from the beginning? Why you had to even send me down?
Well, she was
down this fucking
12 at the time.
Oh, that's true.
You forgot I married a younger woman.
Got you robbing the cradle over here.
Yeah, I had to wait till I was at least 30 before she was even old enough. You know what I'm saying? I had to be cautious. But it's a good point. I did something that the religious community says you should do. Make an honest woman out of her. You got to marry, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And would we have been better or worse off had we not gotten married? I don't know. And to your point, I had 2 beautiful children. I wouldn't have my older daughter if it weren't for us having been together.
Correct.
Things happen the way they happen. And I have no regrets. There are things that I could have done differently, but if I had, then would I be where I am now?
Yeah, what would be your outcome?
Who knows whether those small changes would have made, greater effects in life, and maybe eventually I would have never had Rebecca. Maybe eventually I would have never met Jessica, and then Madeline would have come along. But then maybe there would have been another, relationship. Who knows? There's too many maybes.
Yeah.
Too many maybes. I say I'm grateful for everything I have, and how I got to this point it is what it is.
Right.
And it got me to here.
So that's where our relationship has diverged in a way. She's still on that, I want to say, more spiritual track.
Right.
And then I'm kind of just being me, and I'm not a disbeliever.
Okay.
Not one bit. But I came to the point to where I realized that if there is a God, and I think there is, He gave me all the power I need to do whatever I need to do. He gave me the power to create. He gave me the power to make my own decisions. He gave me the power of whatever power He had. I have that same power. So my success or my failure is in my own hands and in my power. It has nothing to do with God. I can create just as good as He can create. He created me. I can create human beings. I got proof of it. I got four proofs of it. That I could create a human just like he created us.
Interesting.
So she, whatever you want to call it. Whatever.
I've thought a lot about that concept of God
being
lately.
Living a human experience. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm a spiritual being living a human experience.
I don't know how I would describe myself, so I'm not going to try.
Just whatever. I'm cute.
Well, let's get this party started.
Yeah.
See, that's how we're way deep.
I'd say we're probably 10 minutes in.
You are incorrect, sir.
12. We're no more than 15.
15:30.
Ooh, damn, Shane.
15 minutes with no introduction.
That's crazy.
I mean,
we barely scratched the surface.
Yeah,
I just gave a little.
We haven't even gotten to the introduction yet.
Yeah, haven't even got to that.
We just gave the thoughts for the day.
Cynthia said we need to go back to our regular introductions where you introduce the whole party, the whole cast. She likes those introductions. And stop trying to do all this crazy shit that we be doing. She said keep it consistent.
Keep it consistent. And it probably should be somewhere close to the beginning of the podcast.
It probably at some point. Be. But then we get on the damn...
most successful podcasts have like an intro of some kind. We
get on the damn tangent.
Some dude playing a guitar or whatever. Mm-hmm. We know a guy that makes music, but he won't make music for us. He's too expensive. He's out of our league.
He's out of our league.
Yeah, we can't afford to, this guy's...
That's where we got to make our own music.
Got to make our own music.
Got to make your own.
Listen, man, you need to take that bass home and learn some bass licks.
We got to create our own music.
And then I'll throw some harmonica over your bass.
Uh-huh.
Look, I got that Dunning-Kruger effect full in effect right now. Like I know 3 songs real damn good.
You think you done mastered, huh?
No, but I can tell that 10 years from now, I believe I'll be able to play good.
Oh yeah.
I think 10 years from now, I'm gonna be pretty good. I don't know about phenomenal, but I think I'll be able to step on stage and they'll be like, damn, this guy can do it. Oh, there you go. Yeah. 10 years. Give me 10 years and I will do it. I'm trying to learn that.
Let's see how we still get to talking. We still like that introduction.
All right. We're just going to do a standard vanilla white boy introduction.
Yeah, keep it vanilla. Plain Jane.
Coming to you now from that 86 Kids studio, deep in the heart of Huntsville, Alabama, in our underground lair. Here with my co-host, Q the Messenger, and our illustrious producer, Kevin the Boss Man Richardson. I'm Shane the Brain Knox, and this is Fender Chronicles. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. That's what the people want.
That's what the people want.
Yeah.
The people being
the court of public opinion.
The court being Cynthia.
The court being
she's
Cynthia.
holding
the whole court.
Right.
Yeah, the whole court being Cynthia.
That's an interesting thing. Jessica almost never gives any suggestions. She listens to the podcast, but she doesn't really suggest anything.
Really?
She just,
Give your suggestions, Jessica. We got a suggestion box.
My wife knows how to stay in her lane,
snap.
Oh, I'm going to hate when this episode comes out.
I did mess with her a little bit, too.
I'm going to be working in the shop, and she's going to come busting through the door. My lane, what? Take the earbuds out.
Your lane, woman.
That's going to be a fun conversation. What's up, Jessica?
Man, Jessica came and talked to me at Sunday, this past Sunday at the camp. We talked for like 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we talked for a real good time. We talked for a real good time, man. I think that was the longest one-on-one conversation I ever had with your wife.
Okay.
Us talking. Yeah.
Well,
it was a good conversation.
Good deal.
Yeah, ask her about it.
She didn't mention that to me either.
She didn't mention it to you?
Nope. I'm going to find out now, though.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I just snitched on you, Jessica.
Didn't even bring me any popcorn.
Didn't bring, well, I was actually sitting inside the camp. I wasn't on the truck. I wasn't on the truck.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was Father's Day. You were taking it easy.
I took my time. Yeah. I was in no hurry.
Yep.
On Father's Day.
Comes a point when you got to slow down just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just give me a little, just a minute.
Just a minute. Just to live in the moment.
What's that song I've been listening to about that? I can't remember now.
Mm-hmm.
I just need a minute.
I want to hear about your trip to Pulaski, Tennessee.
Man.
Yeah, I know you planted a seed Sunday, and then we really didn't get in the weeds of it, but
well, I mean, it could be deep weeds.
I've been kind of thinking about it.
It was an odd situation. All right, so this past Saturday, I went to what was it called? I went to a festival in Pulaski, Tennessee, and set up and sold toys. I cannot remember.
Okay.
I go to so many festivals. I don't remember what it was called. I remember the Sun Drop Festival. The Sun Drop Festival. Apparently,
Sun Drop.
Pulaski, Tennessee is the official
I
home
was
of
gonna say the
Sun
Hangman
Drop.
Festival. Okay. The Sun Drop.
Sun Drop. If you drop, never mind, man. Look, I'm gonna try not to make jokes.
Don't let the sun go down on your black ass.
It's or drop your son. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to make jokes, but at the same time, it's no pun intended. Gallows humor.
Hey,
I'm doing it again. I didn't even mean it to. Sometimes some things are so hard to think about. You gotta make a joke about it. I don't know. I think that's why humor exists. So I show up in Pulaski, Tennessee.
Okay.
Get there about 6:30 a.m. Set up my. This is
This your first time in Pulaski?
First time ever being in Pulaski. Never had any reason to be there before.
How far Pulaski is from here?
From my house, 45 minutes.
Maybe
from here,
45.
at the most an hour.
Yeah.
At the most.
Not far.
No, it's not far. It's not far.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know anything about Pulaski, Tennessee.
Okay.
That's my privilege, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I mean, that's kind of a point.
Mm-hmm.
I made my own point, I guess. But anyways, I get there, and my good friend Jason Askins, shout out Jason Askins. Put the seed in my head that I literally did not know for real that Pulaski, Tennessee was the birthplace of the KKK.
Correct. And I knew that.
I did not know that. It never. Does it make sense to say that it doesn't even seem worth giving credence to research those guys? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even want to act like it's important enough for me to me, that's like a bug that you step on. You're like, I'm not fixing to find out what kind of bug it was. It's squished. Move on, But, so there I am, set up on the square.
Pulaski, Tennessee.
Set
the scene. What they square look like? Is it kind of like ours?
So,
Northeast, southwest type square?
Certainly a northeast, southwest type square with buildings all around it. Courthouse is facing south, of course, because the north can kiss our ass. This, I go to a bunch of little small towns that have kind of squares the same way.
Okay.
A lot of little small southern towns are exactly the same thing. And this one is a little bit better kept. The buildings.
So it's a nicer square.
It really was an ideal. It could be on a Norman Rockwell poster.
Okay.
The buildings were well kept, fresh paint, everything looked good. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't run down.
You can tell they take pride in that.
There's definitely community pride.
Pride, okay.
Definitely community pride there. There's a statue of a dude who was, all right, so I looked up the history. I'm not going to act like I know a ton of it, but I'll give you the condensed version of what I read while I'm sitting there.
Reader's Digest.
Well, because here's the thing, Q. When terrible things happen somewhere, I think there's some kind of a residual memory. I don't want to get all mystical and whatever. I'm not talking about, I don't know what it is, but I think there's a heavy feeling somewhere. And as I first started thinking about it, it really made me kind of honestly look around at the trees and be like, did something really heinous happen right there? Now, I will tell you the one thing I did notice is there are no old trees on the square. What that means, I don't know, but maybe this is one of those cases where I think the community has tried really hard to distance themselves from something that they recognize was reprehensible. I felt that way after not only reading the history and trying to come up with, trying to reconcile the fact that I'm supporting a town where the KKK started from. I don't take that lightly. So there's a statue there of some guy. I can't even remember what his name is now. Quick search will tell, but this was a Confederate soldier. So at one point in time, Pulaski, Tennessee was actually a refuge for slaves who escaped plantations.
Okay.
Because the Union Army captured Pulaski, Tennessee and took it over, and they built a safe house, a place where slaves who escaped from plantations could come and be fed and clothed and have safety. They were under the protection of the Union Army. This was in Pulaski before the KKK was founded, obviously. So there was a Confederate soldier who was hung there by the Union forces as a spy or as a traitor. I guess he was trying to get information. During the Union occupancy of Pulaski, Tennessee, there was a Confederate soldier who was hung there by the Union forces, and there's a statue in his honor on the courthouse square. I didn't read the plaque.
The Confederate guy.
The Confederate guy who was hung. There's a statue in his honor there. It's the only statue that I could find. So then eventually, according to official history, the history written by
The winners.
The white people in this case, right? I mean, let's just be honest about what this is. It's not, there's nothing pretty about it. But the official history is that the KKK started out as a fraternal civic group, more of like a Robin Hood type of thing, trying to not steal from the rich, but, a way to try to help poor people. Of course, that meant poor white people. They didn't help poor black people.
Right.
But either way, it was supposed to be a fraternal organization. And then I guess during the late 50s, there was some civil unrest and there was some...
That's where it evolved into
the hate group that it was. Now, that's official history. I'm not quoting it verbatim.
The white
but
supremacist.
Yeah.
Hate group.
Terrorists, murdering sons of bitches, whatever. Domestic terrorists, yeah.
Domestic terrorists.
For sure. And from what I understand, up until the 80s, there were still KKK marches in Pulaski, Tennessee. Sanctioned by the town and what have you. That's what I understand. So apparently there was a plaque on the courthouse, mounted to the courthouse in honor of, remembrance of, whatever, in a positive way, thinking of the KKK. And in, I think it was 1985, there was a public ceremony where they officially took that plaque, and rather than take it down, they turned the plaque inside so you could only see the back of it. You couldn't read any of the positive words that it said about the KKK. Which seems to me like...
Is the plaque... Is it in conjunction with the statue of the Confederate soldier? Like, are they kind of right there with
I couldn't find the plaque. I think it's actually been taken down now.
Okay, they don't remove it now.
And I didn't want to walk around and be like, hey, where's that, saying that KKK plaque. Because here's the thing. I read all this history and I tried to look it up. I would encourage anybody to look in this. If you're curious, fact check me. Just look it up. Ask Grok or AI or whatever it is and get the story for yourself and make your own determination. Should a place like that be burned down? Whatever, that's not for me to say. But here's the feeling that I got. First of all, the festival kicked off at 11. So I had a good bit of time to contemplate, whatever. Had a gummy ahead of time, which put me in the right frame of mind. So I think about all, I'm really trying to consider this in my mind, and I'm looking around. At some point in time, there were really bad shit that happened right here.
Right.
We American citizens in the very recent past, my parents' age past, did terrible things here. For sure, there were lynchings there.
Most definitely.
According to the research that I did, the sanitized research you're going to find online, that region hosted a little over 200 lynchings during.
That's the documented ones.
Correct. Or the ones that are willing to admit, bad stuff happened here. So I absorb all that. Now 11 o'clock comes and people start coming to the festival. First of all, I noticed the police force. It seems appropriately diverse. It's mostly white. It's also a very small town in rural Tennessee. It's mostly white people that are going to live there. I think the police force probably...
Does it represent the population?
If I had to guess, I mean, look, I don't, I'm not doing research, but if I had to guess, I would say that minorities were at least representative, if not maybe slightly more than what it would be in the population. I mean, if you got, 1 out of 1,000 people there that are minority, it's going to kind of be hard to, I joked with my friend, I bet it's real easy to get a job as a cop here if you're black. They'd be like, oh, yeah, come right up here. Let me take a picture. We'll put it on the brochure. Right. But then I started noticing the people that were coming there.
Okay.
And it was almost profound when I saw the first black person, which was soon, And then next thing you know, I'm looking around and there's interracial couples sitting on the grass, children that are obviously of mixed race coming, there was a very good mix of different types of people there. Not just black and white, but I saw Asian people there. I saw Hispanic people there, very predominantly white. But at least a representative mix. Like here in Huntsville, we see a lot of diversity. It's almost uncommon.
But it's still mostly predominant white. I mean, that's anywhere you go. I mean,
probably so. Yeah, I'm sure. Especially in the South.
Over 60% of the population.
Overall,
I want to say white people still.
Yeah, it would be interesting to find out the racial dynamics of Huntsville. And if you look at a small town in rural Tennessee, even more so. Yeah. But
it's even more exponentially.
For sure.
White. In small town, small rural town.
In the South, especially.
In the South, yeah.
But probably anywhere in the country. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say I've got a fully formed thought, and I definitely don't want to pontificate.
Mm-hmm.
But
pontificate
or seem pompous, or passe for that matter.
Okay.
But I will say that
Shane the brain.
But I will say that
Shane the brain.
We could burn down Pulaski, Tennessee.
Oh.
Let's say we had decided back in 1970. When was the Civil Rights Act passed?
65.
65. Let's say we decided at that point in time we were going to symbolically burn down the town that spawned the KKK.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's one way to look at it. Maybe another way to look at it isn't the very best way that we can show that this is not who we are as a people anymore by hosting a festival that not only is everybody welcome, but everybody comes to.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people of different races enjoying the entertainment, the food, coming into my booth and speaking to me.
That's what it sounds like they're trying to do.
It really seems like the community has made an effort to eschew their terrible past and to become what things should be. I don't know. The longer I was there, the better of a feeling I got about being there. And the fact that there were no old trees.
Do you want to get to the point to where you kind of erase that history altogether, or do you still want to have those statues and those plaques to show that this is where we came from?
That's an interesting question, and I'll say that statues, especially, is kind of a iffy one. Because here's the thing: George Washington owned slaves.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson owned a lot of slaves.
Thomas Jefferson owned slaves and refused at one point in time to release the slaves that he owned, even though he was encouraged to by a couple other people.
Right.
Do we erase those men out of our history because they did? That's one of the worst things you can do. Thomas Jefferson was almost certainly guilty of rape.
Oh, he had a lot of biracial kids, I want to say.
Which is by definition rape.
Yeah.
I'm sure he wasn't asking,
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson walk in the room and say, "Hey, drop him. What you doing? When you his slave?"
He wasn't raising him up.
He dropping him.
He said,
I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It was what it was back then.
And that doesn't make it right.
It's not right.
And I think we should call out we should call out all the wrongness. And if we don't, if we erase Thomas Jefferson, then we also erase the lessons to be learned.
Correct.
Good men often do terrible things.
Yeah. But are they good men?
Are
they good men doing terrible? Am I a good person doing bad things?
Do you want history to judge you for the worst thing that you've done in your life? I hope history will judge me more for the predominantly person that
depends on it. I think it's situational based, Shane.
For sure. Is there anything that's unforgivable?
Slavery's a tough one.
It is.
Cold-blooded murder's a tough one.
Cold-blooded murder?
Rape, cold-blooded murder.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No reason.
Cold-blooded murder.
Psychopathic kind of.
Yeah. Now, if I killed you because you're breaking into my home,
that's not murder.
That's not murder.
That's you got what you had coming.
You got what you had coming.
But maybe you got pissed off and drunk in a bar fight and you killed somebody.
Shit,
that's still different.
They might be classified as manslaughter.
Sure,
in that situation.
But that's not cold-blooded murder. That's not Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm gonna, cook up your brain or whatever. Chomo.
Now that's definitely that's unforgivable one. You need to get whatever you need.
How old do you think those slave girls were? How old do you think the slave girls were?
Shit, they back then it was the time you could bleed.
Chomo was a different thing. So yeah. They were marrying
12, 13, teenagers. Well, we would consider a kid now.
Right.
It's a fucked up past.
Here's what I think.
I don't think it needs to be forgotten. I think it needs to be talked about. Conversations like this.
I certainly think it needs to be talked about.
I think towns like Pulaski do need to exist, and I don't think they need to shy away from their past. But you can see the progression that they made over the last 50, 60 years, and they're trying to make it better. They're trying to make the world a better place.
It felt that way.
But I think the history still needs to be there.
Of course.
Now, statues in the court.
Here's what I think about statues.
If it's a lesson to be learned in it, this is the Confederate soldier, whatever. This is what happens. They had a plaque that shows, the history of it, the lesson in it.
I'd like to know.
I might give it a pass.
I didn't look up that particular soldier. It wasn't like Robert. Excuse me. It wasn't Robert E. Lee or something like that. But here's what I think about statues, and I'll just say it's a tough one because how many? We got a statue of Lincoln.
Right.
We got a monument to Washington. I think the ones of the overtly Robert E. Lee statues need to be in a museum.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get rid of the statue, but don't proudly display it on the courthouse lawn either. Or maybe change the plaque underneath of it that said, while it was, while some of his actions were reprehensible, he also did that. Think about this. Benedict Arnold.
Turncoat.
That's what we know about him.
That's what we know about him.
But the deeper history is that he was really a brilliant general for us.
He was.
And
didn't get the credit for it.
He didn't get the credit for it because in the last moment when he thought America was going to fall, rather than stand firm, he chose to be a traitor. And that's the only thing we remember about him. But he bravely led American troops into battle against the British forces.
Front line bravely.
Bravely. For sure.
Generals went in the war with you.
Back then. And Benedict Arnold was no different.
Been wounded.
But he's been judged.
He's not a war hero.
We don't call him a war hero.
He's not a war hero.
He didn't stand till the end.
It took a traitor.
And all we remember him for is being a traitor.
Coward. Turncoat.
I would like to see Pulaski, Tennessee, and a lot of other places judged more by the preponderance of their actions over a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we went through a period of time where, for whatever reason, we all lost our collective minds and said, this is okay, when I think clearly your soul has to know that it's not okay to own another person.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, I just almost wanted to make another. It's too serious a subject to really joke about, but I don't know. What say you, Q the Messenger? I think you gave a pretty good opinion there, and it is situational.
I think it's a lesson to be learned in it. I don't think we need to erase the history. The history needs to be there so we don't go back to that history, to that way of life. Because a lot can happen in 100 years.
They didn't bulldoze Auschwitz. You can still go there.
Okay, like the concentration camps.
You can still go there.
So like here's a perfect example of like kind of some of the things that's going on to compare it to Auschwitz. So this plantation just burnt down a couple weeks ago. You probably heard of it. The Nottoway Plantation. It was this big plantation home in Louisiana, like one of the biggest plantations in the South.
No, I didn't hear about it.
It just burnt down. But they turned it into like a showroom place where you can go get married at, you know what I'm saying? And
like an event center.
Negating the history of it. And then you hear people comparing it to like they don't get married in German concentration camps. Why they turning this place into a fucking event center where people's hosting weddings and these big galas and stuff. That's the comparison they're making, because the slavery was just as worse as the damn concentration camps of Germany.
I think it's hard to compare.
So why is this place being praised as this beautiful, beautiful place? You know,
because somebody's making money off of it. This
work of art, you know. But the shit was built on the backs of slaves. And no telling how many people came through this place that was raped, murdered, you know, mutilated.
Not as many as Auschwitz.
I don't know, Shane.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know.
There weren't probably as many slaves in the South as there were murdered in Auschwitz.
I don't have the numbers. But
I don't either.
Number to number, it doesn't matter. The atrocities are still
one life for 1,000 lives, which is more important.
Yeah.
So should we take down all of the old antebellum plantations?
They shouldn't be event centers and galas, you know, and wedding venues. Could they be turned into museums? Yeah. Why not?
I see where you're coming from, and you make a valid point. It's also private property. I don't know. I don't have the answer.
I don't got the answers either. I know I wouldn't use a place like that.
I couldn't. No, I don't think I would either.
You know, fuck that place. How many people came through here that gave their lives to this place?
But yet you said you would go sell popcorn in Pulaski.
Why not?
Well, it would seem like the same reason why you wouldn't get married at an old
Pulaski tried to clean their shit up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you make a good point.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure some slavery went on here in Huntsville, and I sell popcorn in Huntsville. You know,
that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, you can't go anywhere in the South where it wasn't.
You go up to Buried on the Mountain. He still got his slave homes up there. You ever been to Buried on the Mountain up here?
No.
They still have the slave homes on Buried.
I've been to places where they had
still show
old slave quarters.
The old slave quarter homes, you know. Yeah, right up the street. You can go see old slave. I mean, it's a part of our history that's there. I don't think it needs to be deleted. Does it need to be praised? No.
Mm.
Does it need to be talked about? Yes.
Definitely needs to be talked about. Everything needs to be talked about.
We shouldn't forget our past. I do think
what's that old quote about those who
made a lot of progress in the right direction.
I agree. But it also is, it's one of those things, and we've talked about this, you know, I suppose this is a personal, you know, maybe it's even selfish for me to take any of it personal, but again, I'm the type of person who's always tried really hard to do right by people regardless of race. Or at least when I was an asshole, I was pretty much an equal opportunity asshole.
Opportunity.
I might be a jerk to you, but it wasn't because you were black, it's just because I was an asshole.
That's just who you were.
That's just who I was.
Yeah.
But it's impossible to forget the fact that your parents are old enough to remember a time when the KKK marched in Pulaski, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I am old enough to remember. I was born in 1971, and they had that plaque turning around ceremony in 1985. So when I was 14 years old, when I was 13, I could have gone and seen a KKK plaque on the Southern Courthouse. Mm-hmm. That's my lifetime that could have existed.
It's not very long ago.
It's not that long ago.
Yeah, not very long ago.
And we've made tremendous progress. And I suppose, you know, for those of us who are young enough not to have seen the actual violence, you know, even though I'm old enough to have seen that plaque, I've never seen actual violence, not like it was in the 60s. Correct. You know, I've never seen a race riot other than in pictures. Sometimes it's tough for me to understand the mentalities that say, or that keep those things so fresh. There's a lot of, within the black community, I don't know how to say this right. Within the black community, that's a much fresher memory than it is to me, because my grandparents weren't talking about that kind of thing. You know, my parents wouldn't talk about that kind of thing. For the one thing, my folks are from up north, and they think they're better than the rest of the country when it comes to racism. Check it out, they're not. Trust me when I tell you, they're not. I got family members that I could introduce, not close family members, but I got family members that would use terms like darky. Yeah, that's one step away from the N-word, isn't it?
The colored over there.
I never heard that one. But you know what I'm saying? It's, you know, they're Asian, but they're pretty good people. What? That's the kind of attitudes of people. That specific statement was made by a person who I am related to.
Does it matter?
Whose next door neighbors are Asian. He said, they're Asian, but they're good people. They just keep to themselves. I'm like, okay, that's pretty messed up. You know what I'm saying? But did you ever offer me any of your barbecue? That ain't gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? So
we still got, I do think we still got a long way to go, because you still see a lot of the racial issues in the news and the media, and they glorify it and they glamorify it. But it was an incident that just happened not long ago with this lady. She called the little boy the N-word. White lady called the little black boy the N-word. This is like within a
child. A grown adult was saying this to a child.
Within 2 months ago.
Wow. Where'd that happen?
I don't know exactly where it happened at, Shane. You got to look it up. I didn't give it a lot of credence myself, because I was like, that's horrible. You know, but
I'm not saying it didn't happen.
And she said the little boy was, I want to say, taking something from her kid or trying to go in her purse. But he's a 5-year-old little boy.
Yeah.
The color really doesn't matter. But she called him the N-word.
Doesn't matter at all.
And kept saying it. And then this guy checked her on it and started recording it. So he got her on. It's a video.
Yeah, it's a video of it.
The lady ended up raising almost $1 million on her GoFundMe, because she said she felt like her life was threatened. So she raised a GoFundMe. Like, I can't work.
Wait a minute, the person who was using the N-word?
Yes, calling the little boy N-word.
Made a GoFundMe and made $1 million.
Almost $1 million, Shay.
On the basis that, wow.
Because I felt like my life was in danger and I can't work and do whatever.
Wow.
That's the... And
you were using racial slurs.
The summary of the whole story. You know?
So here's the thing, though. That's a cultural issue. I think there's a big difference between cultural racism and systemic racism. Or not systemic, but what do you call it? Not sanctioned by... I don't know how to say the word I'm trying to say.
But I'm saying, okay, like, so the point I'm trying to make, before you make your point, Shane, is that if the lady can do something like that and make $1 million, what did that say about our country still?
Oh, I agree with that. Culturally.
Who would invest in someone who's willing to call a little boy the N-word?
Right.
You know, for being a little boy, regardless of whatever he was doing.
Yeah, regardless of what he was doing.
He's a 5-year-old little boy.
He's a 5-year-old boy. I mean, not for nothing if it was a grown person. But this is a child.
A child. playing.
Yeah. Or maybe being bad.
He's a 5-year-old little boy.
Okay, but if he was getting into her purse or whatever, stealing candy from somebody else, then maybe he was being bad. But again,
he's a 5-year-old little boy.
Race doesn't have anything to do with it. The color of his skin doesn't have anything to do with it.
Well, she made
Obviously,
it obvious.
yeah. It did something to do with it. It did for her.
That could have been any little 5-year-old little boy.
It could have
doing
been.
some stupid shit. You know.
It could. Yeah, exactly. 5-year-old boys do bad shit sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's I don't have the solution.
We've made great strides. Just me and you sitting down having this conversation.
I hope so.
White man, black man.
Hope somebody listens to this and goes, "Hey, at least we can talk about it."
We can talk about it.
I think I think that is the solution.
And I think I'm at the point now where I'm mature enough to know that the past, the atrocities that happened to black people in the past, I can't take that out on the people now, on white people now. Now, when I was younger, when I would watch movies like Roots, Rosewood, stuff like that, slavery or how bad we were treated, I would automatically get mad and triggered at white folks.
Do you think young black men should be watching those movies?
Oh, most definitely.
Okay.
But I think they need someone older to talk to know how to channel that anger that they may feel from those movies.
I mean, they're going to.
They're going to need someone to talk, because if not, you're going to be balling that up and you're going to be willing to take it out on the first white person you come across.
Sure.
And that person has nothing to do with it.
Who might have been the one that... Did you hear what LeBron James said about the White House? What's the White House press secretary's name? Carolyn Leavitt or something like that?
I didn't hear nothing.
He called her KKK Barbie.
Oh, okay.
LeBron James did. Now, I don't know the contents. I'm not fixing to, jump up and down and, raise hell or whatever.
A KKK Barbie.
That's what, yeah.
Is she part of the KKK?
No. Now, according to her family was big in the fight against slavery or whatever. She clapped back at him a little bit.
She should have.
She said, my family was here fighting for slavery. Your family came here from Jamaica. Let's talk real.
Let's talk real.
That's what she said. I'm paraphrasing, but that...
LeBron probably don't want that intellectual fight. With the KKK Barbie.
And I really wasn't going to...
She's the press secretary.
Oh, yeah.
You definitely don't want that fight with the press secretary.
She's sharp, too.
Yeah, she's sharp as hell. Yeah, she's the press secretary.
Did you hear she told that woman, what a stupid question? Talking about, will Trump support peaceful protest? She said, of course he does. That's a stupid question.
That's a stupid question.
But I wasn't going to bring up the LeBron thing, but I really read that.
I haven't heard that about it.
So LeBron is obviously a role model.
Almost definitely.
And from what I understand, he's puts his money where his mouth is. Yeah, he probably saved the NBA if it can be saved.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, he puts his money where his mouth is.
He started
helps the community where he's from. He gives a lot of money, in his case, giving back. He does. He has been blessed, and he's given a lot of money to people that need help in some way or another. So he's got real credibility. Mm-hmm. It ain't just because he can play basketball. He's done good things with his life.
Right.
He's tried to be a good steward, I think. And I think that, look, we all say stuff, but LeBron is a grown man, sophisticated in the ways of the world. He's not some country bumpkin. He's a man that's been around. He's educated and sophisticated, and I think it's irresponsible to allow yourself to say something like that. Okay, you may disagree with President Trump and therefore Carolyn Leavitt's policies. And you have a right to call out those policies. When you start using ad hominem statements, calling somebody KKK, really, you're going to compare a woman who is a spokesperson for policies that you don't like to an organization that is responsible for the deaths of however many thousands of African Americans.
Yeah, it seems kind of lazy.
It seems.
I mean, that's the word I can use.
That's a good point.
It's lazy.
Yeah.
It's just easy just to say, like with Trump and his name calling.
Yeah.
It's just something.
It's lazy.
It's laziness, really.
Yep. And I think that's, to me, when I hear somebody use a personal attack rather than, okay, well, you said X, Y, and Z, and I think it's wrong, and let me explain to you why I think that your policies are harmful.
Correct.
Okay, now you have a leg to stand on.
Right.
But if you're not even willing to address the actual thing that it is that's offended you, that you feel like is wrong, then you've kind of taken your own legs out from under yourself. How do how do you possibly then come back and say, no, what I was really talking about was this is such a policy. You know, the first thing you do is say, you know what, I'm sorry that I compared you to a domestic terrorist organization that murdered thousands of innocent people. But then let's talk about the policy issue that I think is harmful to whatever it is. You know, I don't know. See, and here's the thing:
you don't even know why.
You don't even know what his beef is.
Yeah, what his real beef is.
All you know is that he's used a racial slur against the White House press secretary, and you don't even know which policy it is. You know, was it because? So the the reporter that said what a stupid question to was a black woman. Maybe that's what it was. Who knows? And maybe he would have been like, listen, you know. You probably really shouldn't tell a reporter a question stupid, even if it is. You know what I'm saying?
As the press secretary.
As the press secretary, you have a certain obligation as well to maintain a certain decorum. But you know, not for nothing, the commander in chief, you know,
hey,
he feels no compunctions whatsoever about, you know, he still calls governor, California's governor Newsom, which is hilarious. It's hilarious.
It is hilarious. I'm like, man, Trump is funny.
He's hilarious.
This dude is running our country.
But he's running the country.
This motherfucker is running the country.
I don't know.
And I mean, I had high hopes for him, but I done threw him out the window, Shane.
I don't know if they're out the window yet, but I done
threw him out the window.
It's going the wrong way.
I don't got no faith there.
It's going the wrong way. I just don't. I'm going to tell you something. Look, I'm going to come out and say this, and I respect all military veterans. I've told you yourself, thank you for your service. I appreciate what you personally sacrificed for the country's military. But I don't think the military should be an organization that's glorified. I'm not saying we should denigrate it either, but are we really going to have military parades in the streets and pull out all of our fucking guns and bombs and the things that we, you know?
They just did one.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
What they say, they spent like $100 million on it?
Is that
taxpayer dollar? I mean,
is that the face that we want to give to the world?
We could have did better use with that money.
That's fact. That's fact.
We could have put that money to.
But I just think for a long time,
some tanks rolling down Main Street.
Yeah.
You know, like, come on, man.
I think for a long time we've been, you know, guns first.
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Shane. I don't want my kids to join the military.
For sure.
No, I don't even want that to have to be an option for them, like it was for me.
Right.
You know, go.
And I don't want my kids going to war.
And I definitely don't want my kids,
especially the Hollywood wars we've been fighting ever since.
Going to fight.
What Korea was the last time we had a specific example of what we were fighting for. Now we just go blow some shit up. What, for oil?
Oil.
We're fighting terrorism everywhere. All those, they were all terrorists. You telling me all those people?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah, I don't want my kids to go die for.
And I think
something they don't even know why.
Something they don't even know why. Don't even know why they're there. Why they're shooting at that person. To your point, they might look like somebody they knew, especially now that we're a more diverse America. We're the only country in the whole wide world that, like, if you look at China's military, what do they all look like? Chinese, right?
Chinese.
Japan's military is Japanese. Russian military, drinking vodka like crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's military looks like them. The Filipino army, they look Filipino. Korean army, they look Korean. You know what I'm saying? Our army looks like everybody across the world.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Diverse.
Interesting. And yet we're supposedly the bad guys. I don't know, man. I don't get it. Can you imagine being a Chinese person and having to fight against Chinese people? Like, they look just like me.
What you mean?
Let's say you're a Chinese person in the military.
Okay.
And we go to war with China. Now you got to shoot people that look like you.
Okay. You saying in the United
States?
Yeah.
You're in the United States, you know.
Essentially my own national.
Yeah. In World War II. You know. Listen, in World War II.
Or your national is you are United States citizen.
See, that's what I
So what do you call it then? Like, I'm Chinese, but
you're a United States
citizen. My nationality is United
States. Of Chinese descent, maybe?
So what do I call my brothers in China? What my race? I gotta go fight my own. Nationality and race are two different things. Our nationalities are.
Good point.
U.S.
Absolutely.
You know, Americans.
I'm an American. Yep.
But you're white as a race. I'm black.
Right. Good point. I don't know. But here's the flip side. What if I, as a white person, am in the military and we go fight against
Like in Russia.
I mean, they're white too.
They look white.
They look white.
Yeah, they do look.
You know
white.
what I'm saying? I think that means they probably
might look a little whiter.
Like, I don't, whether I would shoot. I don't want to shoot a white person or a black person or an Asian person or an Indian person. I don't even want to shoot their dog. I really don't. Be like, I'm pissed at you, Pop. No, I'm not even going to kill your dog. I don't know. I think the distrust with our government is at an all-time high in the United States. I don't think there's ever been a time in the history of America that we trust our government less than we do now.
They can't hide shit no more.
Well, they've lied to us too many times.
They lied to us
too many recently times. I mean, all you got to do is go back to COVID, and we all remember that. And everybody knows Fauci was liar, liar, pants on fire.
Fauci.
Dude, freaking lied. He couldn't even open his mouth without lying.
Fauci. Guess how deep you think that lie runs, Shane? Like all the doctors, everybody, was in cahoots with that lie. Everybody.
I was speaking to a doctor once about the fact that I use cannabis, and this doctor, when I brought the subject up, kind of put their finger up in the air as though, hang on a second, closed their laptop, powered it off, closed the laptop, and then still spoke in low tones to me. We're supposed to be in an office of a doctor. This is private, right? But this person closed their laptop and spoke kind of in low terms and then gave me real advice from a medical perspective. But also caveated that advice with, now remember, I have a medical license and I'm, this and such, I have these responsibilities, so I can only say certain things officially. But as a doctor, I'll just tell you, don't worry about it. It's seriously, it's not going to hurt your health at all, is what I was told. So not the point of being a pro-cannabis thing, but the point of these doctors are beholden to the medical board of the state that they live in, and they're beholden to their license, and then whatever organization they might work with.
Whatever.
They're not
guidelines.
They're not necessarily telling you what they really believe. They're telling you what they're told to tell you.
What they're told to tell you
by the people that sign their large paychecks. And now you really are. Now you're in a situation where you're a doctor, or you're a PA, or whatever level that you're at, and if you want to practice in your field. And not only if you want to practice in your field, but if you want to ever be able to recoup the money, you've spent $500,000 on an education. And now you are in this position. And if they strip you of your license because you gave an opinion that didn't agree with theirs, whether it was right or wrong, you gave an opinion that didn't agree with the powers that be, now you lose your license and you're still $500,000 in debt. And guess what? You can't bankrupt that debt because it's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac or whatever.
What type of bullshit is that?
Ain't that some bullshit? And so now, as a doctor, you have to follow the party line. And I think a lot of them did that with COVID. At the side of their mouth, they were going, man, you don't need to get this. You don't need to get this vaccine. But yes, you must get the vaccine. The Board of Medicine says I must vaccine. I don't know about this vaccine.
To protect their lifestyle.
Really, but they have to do that, or they, imagine the enormous pressure to stand up and say, no, this is bullshit. Is to potentially lose your license, and therefore
lose your license.
What? You got a family, you got, now you're 35 years old, you can't use your medical degree. You still haven't paid off that $500,000 yet, because come on, they make it easy for you not to. And that's how shit like COVID and wearing masks. If you can smell a fart through a mask, you can get COVID through a mask. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. We all smelled a fart through the mask, acting like we didn't because you couldn't see your face all scrunching up. But you could smell through the mask. You knew if somebody was cooking Chinese on your street, right?
Yep.
You telling me that Chinese is smaller molecules than COVID? Please. Get over yourself. But it was a lie. And we all believed that lie because every doctor in
lockstep. I would say we all believed it.
No, we didn't all. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And even the people that said because now it became a social issue.
I never got vaccinated.
No
one, my wife didn't get it. My kids didn't get it. Q, my oldest, wanted to get it.
He wanted to get it.
And I wouldn't let him. Because, they
brainwashed him in school.
He's impressionable. Sure. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I got to get that.
And especially for kids.
Very impressionable. But I was like.
Did your family get COVID?
I'm pretty sure we did.
So we definitely did. We definitely did diagnosed. And this was when Madeline was young. She was less than a year old. And I got it first. Took a home COVID test. I'm positive. Yep, I got COVID. And I had all the symptoms that they say came with COVID. And honestly, it's the first time I've been knocked on my ass by sickness in, a really long time.
Mhm.
Like I get the flu or
But
something
you
just like
being
anybody
diabetic,
else.
they say that was where it was really worse on people with pre-existings. Did you think that made a difference in it?
In how hard it hit me?
How hard it hit you?
Maybe. But I'm pretty healthy in just about every other way. I had quit smoking by then. Obviously, I'm not overweight. I get lots of vitamin D outside. And even when I had COVID, I was going outside in the sun. I'm like, I'm going to bake this shit. I'm going to be miserable outside or miserable inside. We'll be outside in the sun getting all the vitamin D I can. And I don't know. And I say that from the standpoint of my best friend from high school died of COVID.
Right.
He smoked 2 packs a day.
We're not saying COVID's not real.
I'm not saying it's not real.
It's not real. COVID was real.
There was a lot of lies told about it.
But it was a lot of lies told.
And the doctors.
And everybody bought into the lies.
For sure.
The people that's supposed to protect us.
Yep.
When I say everybody.
Yep. And rather than tell us what they really believed, hey, you know what? You need to get some exercise. You get some vitamin D. All they said was the only way.
Lose some weight.
Lose some weight. Yeah. It's not popular to say lose your weight, but you know what? Lose some weight. And rather than do that, they just took that party line because they knew their job and eventually possibly their license was on the line, certainly their reputation.
So say like what, let's compare it to like, okay, people willing to do anything just to protect their lifestyle. So we got all the protests supposedly going on across the nation.
Right.
You got Trump sending in the National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
When do someone in authority or in the military raise the flag and say, hold up, you want us to shoot our own people? You want us to
I mean,
like to protect your lifestyle?
There
you
is
want to turn our own people? He's he's an American guy. I don't give a fuck. He has the right to protest. You know,
if he's an American.
If he's American, that's
one
of his rights.
If he is an American, if he's not an American, be happy you're here.
Be happy here.
Sit down, shut the fuck up, take the exam.
Some of the reason that's why they protested.
Take the exam and become an American
kicking them out of here.
Yeah. There's two ways to look at that too.
But I'm saying, when do you say, I'm not doing that?
At what point in time?
At what point do you say, I'm not doing that to my own people?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because that point does come. At some point in time, you got to throw the tea in the harbor.
That check, whatever y'all talking about paying me, I can't do it.
Well, ain't nobody in the military doing it for the money either. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Not the guys carrying
you don't make a lot of money.
No, you don't make a whole lot of money.
Especially the guy carrying a gun.
Hopefully the experience and the education that you get ends up being worth it in the end.
Correct.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it is important to remember that our country was founded on civil disobedience.
Civil disobedience. And sometimes, like you said, we need to stir the pot. You need that to have the change.
We always have to poke the bear. You always have to poke the bear. If you don't check power, then power checks you.
Yep.
And it's always important to make sure that we're testing the boundaries.
Absolute power.
But I also think
corrupts absolutely.
But I also do think we have to pick our battles. And there comes, when do you make the decision that we're no longer picking, now it's time for battle. I remember the abolitionist communist that we spoke to.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when he said we need to burn it all down, the government needs to take all personal property and reassign it as it's most needed. And I said, I'll be happy to meet that with armed resistance.
I think most of America will.
If you come to my house to take my property away from me, to reassign it to where it's most needed.
What percentage of Americans do you think got guns, Shane?
That's a good question.
I think that's another reason we couldn't be taken over by a foreign entity. Because not only do we have our military might, which is one of the greatest militaries in the world, fucking the citizens are packing.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. What do we have, like 2.5 guns per person in the United States? But then there's a lot of places where nobody has guns. I'm not a gun collector or a gun consumer, and I have at least 8 guns. Just over time, I got at least 8. Yeah,
and I'm not big up on them.
That kind of happens in the South.
Just a regular guy. I just got fucking guns.
Oh, you needed some money? Let me see what you got to get. Yeah, I mean, I don't need a 9mm, but
I don't think we could have a foreign entity come in and just try to whoop our ass.
I do. Okay, not in that way.
No,
not in whoop our ass way.
Once you got to get by military.
Yeah, for sure. No, not in that way. But here's how they would do
our backyard.
But here's how you could do it. What if COVID?
We got open season on motherfuckers out here.
What if COVID had been for real?
Mm-hmm.
What if it was You know, what was the death rate of COVID? 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100,000, whatever. I mean, it's a lot of people.
Low?
A lot of people died, but it wasn't
10,000.
Mr. Producer, man, can you give us an approximate number on that?
The flu probably killed more people than that.
And isn't it amazing that nobody died of the flu?
And nobody got flu during COVID.
Come on, man.
Nobody got
here's
flu
my point.
during COVID.
What if a foreign entity introduced a pathogen that was lethal? 1 in 2 died. 9 in 10 die. What if something like COVID that was you see, that's how it could be done.
You talking about genocide?
Yeah, genocide for sure. But it could be done.
At that rate.
Do you think China gives a damn about American lives? What do we got here, Mr. Producer?
1,200,000.
1,200,000 died. So 1,200,000 is that worldwide?
United States.
United States. 1.2 million people out of 300 million people died. That's a very low death rate.
Very low.
That's a very low.
And they probably count a lot of things as COVID related.
I think so too. A lot of motorcycle
when they were counting.
If you had COVID when you wrecked your motorcycle,
you're a COVID
death. Yeah, because the hospital got paid for that. There you go.
We got to pad
again.
the numbers. Yeah, we got to pad the damn
So
numbers.
the point just being, what if that were 7 in 10 people? Those 3 out of 10 people left. And if you think China has any respect for human life or how many people they have to kill to meet their objective, no, we know that's not true.
That's a high death rate. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You can't tell me that they don't have something that would do that. You can't tell me they don't have something that would do that. And I bet you Fauci knows about it too, because you know he was funding gain of function research in Wuhan.
That's why we funded the laboratory. Because we discontinued the funding here in America.
Oh yeah, it was illegal to do it here. So we just had
to roll that money over to another.
So we rolled that money to another country. It was redirected through NGOs, non-government organizations. Yep. USA Aid and all those kind of things. I want to say USA Aid specifically.
That's a funny ass. And then you look up what it means, you be like, oh.
Yeah, that ain't what it sounds like.
That ain't what it sounds like.
What it sounds like.
Man, our government's so fucked up. But that's the distrust. Because it's just so it's so corrupt. It's so corrupt.
But the question that we talked about earlier, and the one neither one of us is going to be able to answer, but is it more corrupt now than it always has been, or do we just know about it?
You just know about it.
In the Vietnam era, I bet
you really just know. They can't hide shit no more.
They can't hide
it's
stuff
hard to hide stuff now.
Yeah,
you can't. It's gonna be some type of leak, some type of whistleblower. You better off just going to do it in the open.
Yeah, but now they don't even try to hide stuff.
They don't even try to hide.
The new hiding is to spin it,
or put the spin.
You put the spin on it to make it seem like it's one thing when it's really not another one.
Or the distraction.
I was going to say,
let's start damn.
It's the half-naked lady on the other side of the stage while the magician
mass deportation right now. Let's whatever but what's really going on?
What's really going on? Yeah, this will cause riots in the streets. Let's send ICE out to the very most places where they're likely to be most violent. So they're busy looking at that. While in the meantime, what's really going on behind the scenes? Yeah. I think a lot of
hey Elon, let's start an argument on Twitter. Let's start a beef.
What wasn't that interesting?
Let's start a beef, Elon.
We're gonna have a beef, and it comes back down.
Hey, delete my account today.
Yep. Put something crazy out there. You can retract it next week.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we got your back. You still got the Tesla contract, right? Yeah. We good. Yeah, no worries. Yep. Here's the thing.
I don't know.
Our government has devolved.
My rose colors have came off, Shane. The scales are off my eyes.
Our government has devolved into 90s rap culture.
You can't piss on my head and tell me it's raining no more.
All right, so listen.
You cannot do it.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you to wrap that all up into a nice little bow and give us some words of wisdom as we try to navigate. What do we do now? What do we do? Ladies and gentlemen, prepare your minds and straighten your spines.
You know what?
Get ready for the wisdom coming from Q the Messenger.
What do we do, Shay? I really don't got much for y'all tonight, but in the state of our world, the state of America, the state of the economy, a lot of people's out there struggling, Shane.
A lot of us.
A lot of people. A lot. You could say us because I'm in that boat.
Sure.
Whatever. Week to week.
We're all struggling one way or another.
Financially.
For sure.
is a big struggle for a lot of people. Financially is why a lot of marriages end. We talked about my anniversary during this episode. We talk about the mass deportation of immigrants. You know, it's a lot of farmers that depend on that immigrant labor.
True.
Who's about to struggle.
True.
We talked about race. We talked about slavery. But with being broke, I'm talking financially now, and being struggling, I have a surefire way to where you'll never be broke again.
All right.
Prove it. Test it. And
Proven
I
and tested.
want anyone to test me and test this. And if you find it to be false, I want you to comment on it. I want you to tell me. So that surefire way, Shane, is when you're broke, like I'm broke right now. When you get some money, live exactly how you lived when you were broke. And I bet you'll never be broke again. 100% success rate.
100%.
100%.
I think you're right.
I'm broke right now. I'm not going to the movies. I'm not going out to eat. I'm not taking that trip. When you get some money, keep that same mentality. You'll never be broke again.
Pretty soon, you'll have stacks.
You'll never be broke again.
Bands.
If you live exactly the way you lived when you were broke.
That's words of wisdom.
That's my words of wisdom.
All right. Let's leave it at that.
That's all I got, Shane.
This is Vendor Chronicles. Peace.
Hey, another show in the books.
Wow, that one went.
How long we talked on that one?
70. Yeah,
damn, Shane, we need to start cutting these shorter.
I mean, Kevin's been talking like 20 minutes. I said, 20 minutes.